So it looks like Gary Brecka has left 10x Health, which is a company he essentially is co-founders with, Grant Cardone. These are two big names in like the social media business and health world coming together, and it seems like they've had a falling out. So we're going to look at JT Fox's interview with Gary Brecka, where he first talks about this $100 million lawsuit. Now, just a little background on my personal biases before I comment. Gary Brecka, I've made videos on him before because he talks a lot about health hacks that, let's just say, are not the most evidence-based. Now, whether or not he knows that, I'm still trying to assess. Like, because my judge of how true of a charlatan someone is are they pushing stuff they even know is garbage and are still doing it to get a profit? Or maybe they truly believe this is helping people, they're just wrong. That's either the two camps Gary Brecka is falling into. Some of the stuff, of course, he says is true. Like if you put out a lot of health information, you're going to get some of the things right. For example, you talk about diet and exercise. That's always going to be a good thing to recommend to people. Now you have Grant Cardone, who I kind of know from the business world and his social media content there. He sells a lot of courses. He's big into real estate and getting people to invest in his real estate projects, promising big returns. It sounds like they don't always get such great returns, but that's a video for maybe another time. And he also invests in businesses and promises to grow and scale them, which is what it sounds like happened between him and Gary Brecka. So let's get into the story, and I'm gonna pause and give my commentary as needed.
You know, uh, they give you the platform, and then you obviously blow up. I think going to Joe Rogan was obviously a big thing, and that goes kind of viral.
Massive.
Um, and I look at it from my perspective, and now obviously you're no longer in business with them, and then you're now suing them for 100 million. I take a look at sometimes, like, because I have clients as well. If I did the same thing to the clients where I brought someone that was relatively unknown, and I don't know if you're unknown or not, you'll clarify that. And then all of a sudden I put you on my platforms and you blow up. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, screw you. I'm just going to do my own thing. On one hand, there are people who may be thinking about, forget whether you like the person or not, just from an objective thing. If it happened to you,
Very
where
valid.
you took someone underneath you, did he create you from nothing to something? And maybe put that in perspective. Were you having these celebrity clients before? Just maybe put that in context.
Well, yes. I mean, the answer is yes. I mean, it was well known we were treating the Kardashian family prior to. I mean, probably the greatest accelerant of our career was a gentleman named Dave Grutman, who's sort of the hospitality king, and well, I've known for 15 years before we met Cardone. But that's not to say that Grant's organization and Cardone didn't do anything for us. We had a profitable functional medicine clinic in Naples, Florida. We were actually very profitable, and we were still small, like 9 employees. I think the month that we sold the company netted about $250,000, but for a small business, we were doing very well. But the idea of taking this and having a platform where we could really go to the masses and where we could significantly increase the impact was very enticing to us. What essentially happened was we had a functional medicine clinic. We started to treat a client named Alex Morton, who was at the time, he was the Forbes 30 under 30, written one of the best-selling books at the time on entrepreneurialism. Very, very big figure in the multi-level marketing space. We started to work with Alex and his family, and Alex was very connected with Grant, and he made the introduction to Grant Cardone. So Grant Cardone became, and his family became clients of our clinic in Naples. And Grant had such a life-changing experience. He was in a lot of joint pain. He's talked about this publicly. He was out in a lot of joint pain, wasn't particularly sleeping very well, brain fog, he had poor focus and concentration. He was sort of burning the candle at both ends. Became a client of ours, and he had such a dramatic change in his health that he said, I really want to partner with you guys. And initially the conversation was, we'll be your equal partner. We'll have 50% of the business. You'll have 50% of the business. We're going to become basically your marketing arm. We're also scaling experts. We're going to put in the infrastructure to scale your business. And some of that did work. I mean, it wasn't a complete abject failure. But we started with the intention of going to the masses. It was, how do we touch more lives? How can we measure the impact that we're making? What was our mission and our vision, our values, and then how are we going to actually impact more lives? And initially, they seemed very on board with that. It was very intoxicating to us to have someone of Grant's stature, Brandon Dawson's stature, that kind of money, that kind of access, that kind of marketing prowess. Take our clinic, which was profitable, and we were servicing thousands of patients, and thousands of clients, and really allow us to go to the masses.
So it sounds like, kind of similar to what we had said in the beginning of the video, that Gary was basically just running a functional medicine clinic. He had some celebrity clients, and it just shows too that your network really, the, the old adage, like your net worth is your network, or something like that. In a sense, I always joke, like sometimes celebrities don't always get the best actual medical treatment because they're always looking for like the new cutting edge medicine, the new fancy thing, the new functional medicine test that's going to cure them or that's going to rejuvenate them. And by trying to be so cutting edge, sometimes you eventually, and I'm not even saying this for Gary right now, but you eventually end up with people that are not always the most evidence based, but more either have good networking skills, good marketing, or a good showman. Because some of the best doctors in the world are not good marketers. And you really see that. I see celebrities all the time who are connected with people that like I just know are just, I don't want to use the word scam, but are charlatans, maybe. I don't know. And so it sounds like Gary got hooked up with Grant, who has a lot of social awareness from a social media perspective, and really ignited the fire of the functional medicine that Gary's doing, was able to then, the goal was to market to the masses. And it looks like they started at a 50-50 partnership, but I don't think that's actually what ended up happening. And I do understand what Gary's talking about is it's very intoxicating when investors come in, they say they're going to explode you. I've had some of these conversations before with big names, with people who make big promises, and it does sometimes feel very intoxicating. And you really then have to take a step back and try to evaluate everything for what it is. And kind of knowing a little bit of this story, it sounds like Gary did not exactly do that.
Instead of affecting thousands of lives, potentially hundreds of thousands or even millions of lives. And my wife and I, Sage, that started the business with me, it was a very intoxicating, offer. And by the time we signed the documents, and they had negotiated me down to 11% of the company. They owned 82% of the company. They had carte blanche operating control. I didn't really realize what that was going to mean.
Well, why would you do 11%?
Yeah, that's really crazy that he let them talk him down that much. That just shows me that Gary is good. He's a good talker. Maybe he's a good um, functional medicine practitioner, I guess, or at least he believes in some of the things he's doing. But uh, maybe not the best businessman, at least in this circumstance, because he totally got taken advantage of here.
That point, if you agreed 50-50 and you agreed
Yeah,
to 11%, you're obviously the face of this. That's a very low number. Like I could see
extremely low.
maybe 33%, a third, a third, a third, right? If you really want to be there. 11% is really low. So why the 11%? And was there a salary included in part of that 11%?
Yes, I got an executive salary about 125,000 a year when we started. My wife got the same. Now we were also pulling more than that out of the business ourselves. We actually took a step down in what we were being paid on a monthly basis, to go on to Cardone's platform. But essentially, we signed the first deal at term sheet at 50-50, and then Brandon Dawson took over the negotiations and essentially said, hey, listen, there's a lot of risk in this business. I've got to apply a risk premium. You might get sued. There's a disgruntled employee that we've spoken to. So I'm gonna price in this risk premium, and look, 90 days from now we can open another conversation, which they completely denied ever.
So just let's talk business now instead of health. But the risk premium, sure, it makes sense. I mean, medicine, there, especially functional medicine, where like I know Gary's not a licensed practitioner, so he uses licensed practitioners. There's risk there, right? You need to have malpractice insurance and things like that. But it doesn't. I don't even think they were investing in the company. So when they're giving a valuation, they're taking like 80% or more of the company Is that so? Did they add 30% of the equity that they get as their risk premium? I mean, it just seems like such a bad deal that I'm very surprised. I would have thought that Gary was had a lot more ownership of his own company, 10X Health.
But you know, 90 days from now, let's get the docs done and get this deal on the table and start blowing your company up. And in 90 days, you know, maybe I'll wipe this risk premium out and we'll go back to being equal partners. And it wasn't even really the partnership. The only reason why we did it was because we saw the opportunity to reach more people, touch more lives. I'd already had a 20-year career where I was not in service to humanity. You know, I didn't like the person I was really becoming. I was only focused on being wealthy, and I had all of this knowledge to really go out and impact, you know, a lot of lives. And so initially, we as the percentages kept dropping, you know, finally we were like, guys, uncle, you know, my wife and I, a total of 18% of this company. You have 82%. You have carte blanche operating
So
control.
hold on, you went from 11 to 18?
So my wife has 7, I have 11.
Oh, got
So
it.
together we had 18%, and they had the balance
That's
of the
still
company.
crazy. Wow.
We were already partnered with the NFL Alumni Association. You know, we're already treating the Kardashian family. We're already treating the Grutmans. We were already treating a lot of very,
So does
very
all that
prominent.
money now come into that pot and you're giving up 82%?
But what's
or you
interesting
still-
is we didn't get paid anything. They convinced us to do the deal for nothing. Just essentially roll all of our profit into the new venture. This is they talk about this publicly. How do we buy businesses for no money down, and then scale them? And that was the issue. We didn't realize at the time that we were being duped.
This is why too, if you're gonna have negotiations to give up percentages of your company like that, you should have lawyers involved protecting your interests, because it doesn't sound like Gary did here. I can't believe I'm somehow on Gary's side right now. Maybe that'll change, but yeah, definitely from a business perspective, at least, it seems like he got taken advantage of. Is it worth $100 million lawsuit? I'm not exactly sure what's alleged in the lawsuit, but this just sounds like bad business negotiation, not necessarily anything that would be worth a suit.
And then my wife got very apprehensive about it, and she had a horrible gut feeling,
right.
and she just basically said, "I don't want to do this deal."
Well, when is this though? Because you've been
This is
you've been
20. So they bought us in September 16th of 2022. Sorry, 2021. They bought us September 2021.
so hold on, let me guess. They made you feel like you're the most important person. You got onto the jet, you got onto the helicopter, they invited you everywhere, right? They made it seem like
Yeah, next thing you know, I'm like on stages at GrowthCon, and you know, these were big events. I mean, to their credit, they put on massive events. They fill stadiums, you know, sometimes they filled more.
just for the record. I mean, they did say they had 34,000, but there wasn't 34,000 because the stadium only fits 34,000, and you could tell there was a lot of empty seats in the whole backside. Like, you know, being in this business, like anybody can say anything, and that's, I think, the problem with this industry, right? You say,
Yeah.
we got 34,000. There wasn't 34,000. The stadium fits 36,000, and if you take a look at the whole back area of the stage, which is the grandstand, those were blocked off, and there was clearly a lot of empty seats.
Well, I mean, that's a lot of
whether you have 10,000, 8,000, whatever it is, it's still impressive. But you know, the live at being 30.
There were a lot of billion-dollar numbers thrown around. Look, if we just get to this number, we can do this in 2 years, and you guys are going to be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Stop focusing on the fact that
So basically, we're going to sell for $1 billion. You're at 18. You're going to walk away with 180 million, and we're going to make rich. What was the business? So continue the story. I cut you off. You were saying.
Yes, we're going to make you very, very wealthy, and we're going to impact a lot of lives. I mean, we want to amplify your message. That's essentially what we want to do. You're going to be in the driver's seat. You're going to you're going to get to work on the business, not in the business. You're going to train the staff. You're going to come up with our protocols. We want to take what you're doing, and we want to amplify it. Was, you know, it's saying all the right things to us.
But where's your wife? You said you were talking about your wife was apprehensive earlier on back in.
Very apprehensive. She had a really bad gut feeling, because there were a couple of there was several times that Brandon would make promises to us, and then we would get in actually a boardroom or get into a meeting room, or it would come time to sign a document, and there would be a lot of convenient amnesia. You know, not the least of which was taking us from equal partners down to minority partners, and then usurping all the control in the company. And so at one point we said, look, we're really reconsidering this. You know, it was a non-binding term sheet, so neither party was bound. And And then, Brandon just outright threatened us and said, listen, Grant's getting very tired of this deal taking too long. If you don't sign this deal, we're going to actually message against you. We've got other functional medicine clinics that want to be on our platform that are willing to sign this deal. If you don't sign it, we're going to actually tell everybody that this is the place that they should go to get their.
So he had threatened to badmouth you. They were going to
not just
badmouth
badmouth us, but basically take the business that we had and move it somewhere else. And he said, as soon as Grant starts to message about you guys not being the choice, your business is going to collapse. And I remember my wife was in tears. Sage was very emotional about it. And she's like, I just don't have a good gut feeling about this. And now we're being threatened.
Did she say what specifically her feeling was? Like,
I wouldn't have a good gut feeling either if I was being threatened like that with a potential partner I'm about to do business with. That's like pretty dirty negotiation tactics and should be a pretty big red flag. But I also get being scared like this big person with a lot of influence is about to now badmouth you and do the deal with the clinic over. What I've learned in my time in business is there's always more market opportunity. And so if Gary was doing his thing and Grant went with another clinic, I don't necessarily think that would have taken away from what their clinic was doing. Honestly, if Grant started talking badly about Gary and it became a big feud, it probably would have given more social media awareness to him at the time. But regardless, those are just that's not the type of people it sounds like you want to be doing business with.
When Brandon's wife took over and began to really micromanage the company, she broke up the VIP team, had clinicians reporting to sales. We would have daily sales calls, overcoming objections, sales training. It became very high intensity sales, and it became profit over people. And how much stuff could we cram down the throats of our clients, of our patients? Basically of our clients. I don't have patients. I'm not a physician, but really holding, doctors and nurses and physician assistants and the team accountable for sales and not for patient outcomes. We essentially didn't measure impact. We didn't measure patient outcomes. We didn't talk about our mission and our vision and our values anymore. We talked purely about sales, quotas, targets, sales objectives, new products that we could push on people. It really kind of, the straw that broke the camel's back for us was that we were really in service to the masses. After the Joe Rogan podcast, we reached 20,000 genetic tests sold in a month. Exactly what Grant wanted to do. We wanted to go to the masses. We wanted to have something that was relatively affordable. We wanted to have supplements that were affordable. And then they decided to buy a company outside of 10X Health. Remember, Brandon Dawson was CEO of both companies. He's CEO of Cardone Ventures and he's CEO of 10X Health.
So, yeah, I'm glad Gary admits it. And this was my big problem with 10X Health and he basically said it, they were putting profits over patients, which is not a good way to run any type of practice, functional medicine, regular medical practice. And I'm not saying that you're not allowed to make a profit, because you definitely are. I plan to open up a medical practice at some point, and I hope to make profits with that practice. But it should never, ever be at the expense of patients, and you should never be pushing anything that doesn't have good research behind it, that you don't feel like is of good value to the patients. And you should not be having your doctors, PAs, and nurses on sales calls every single day. They should be giving the best quality care to the patients, and let the word of mouth of good quality care be the sales. I know the high pressure marketing sales world that he's talking about. And while it's okay to pull some things in terms of like how to run efficient systems, you should not be bringing high pressure sales to the medical private practice industry. In this case, it was a functional medicine clinic, I believe. But you could suggest different things you might think are helpful to patients, but it's a very murky area, and it sounds like they were just using healthcare as a conduit for being able to just sell more products, regardless of what that is or how it actually helped people. And their prices were astronomical. I know the superhuman protocol they were charging for, and the supplements and the different gene therapies are wildly overpriced. You get a lot of those tests for much less money. at your local Quest or something like that.
Exactly what Grant wanted to do. We wanted to go to the masses. We wanted to have something that was relatively affordable. We wanted to have supplements that were affordable. And then they decided to buy a company outside of 10X Health. Remember, Brandon Dawson was CEO of both companies. He's CEO of Cardone Ventures and he's CEO of 10X Health. So he could buy companies in Cardone Ventures and force 10X Health to do business with them. They were also charging fees to Cardone Ventures. Cardone Ventures got monthly fees for what they called the strategic business unit, which was basically a bunch of fresh out of college 23-ish-year-olds that had, read some sales training books, had no background in medicine, no background in functional care, no background in genetics, no background in blood work, supplementation. And these fees were paid by 10X Health up to Cardone Ventures. One of the basis for the lawsuit was, Elena's claim that we were the only ones that got paid. They took millions and millions of dollars out of this company in the form of fees and distributions.
Did you get paid?
And then the straw. I did get paid. Yes. I mean, in fact, the whole notion that I did this out of greed is very.
How much do you think
very
you said you
myopic.
got paid from the moment that you filed the lawsuit? I think just from 10X Health, from the moment that the lawsuits got filed a few days ago. Are we talking about over 5 million, 2 million?
Oh, well over $5 million. So I had an executive services contract, which paid me. It started at $125,000 a year. I think it moved up to $240,000 a year, and that was as an executive in the company. And then I also got a percentage of sales, and I got a percentage of sales and an affiliate link.
That's wild. It's so funny, first of all, that he was an affiliate for his own company. He was using his own affiliate link because they wouldn't pay him out otherwise unless it was his marketing, like personally, that was driving the sales. But that's a lot of money. It just shows what if he owned the whole thing and was able to grow on social without. I mean, that Joe Rogan podcast clearly made them millions of dollars. But anyway, let's just sum this video up because they go kind of on forever going back and forth. But what have I learned? It looks like sometimes I think Gary believes in what he's doing, and he talks about, he left because they were putting patients first, and I have to give him credit for that. I think sometimes he gets lost in what he doesn't actually know, and so maybe he thinks he's putting patients first, but sometimes he's just giving not the best overall advice. He got taken advantage of, and it sounds like the Cardone Ventures business practices are shady at best, which is not really surprising. But this is a very interesting case study. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you're coming here because you're a Grant hater, a Grant supporter, a Gary hater, a Gary supporter, maybe now you're a Dr. Nessim hater. It's okay. I'll still love you. I appreciate everyone who's watching the videos. I'm going to be making more breakdowns like this, also talking about general health policy, business. We do sports medicine videos on this channel. Really a lot of stuff. Maybe we should niche down at some point, but whatever. And I appreciate you all. Please subscribe. It really helps the algorithm, and I will see you in the next video.